This is History for Cocktail Parties with hack historians Thornton Kennedy and James Otley.
Welcome to History for Cocktail Parties. My name is Thornton Kennedy.
And I'm James Otley.
And today we're going to continue our island hopping adventure. We started on the barrier islands of Georgia. We got to St. Simon, and we're just now getting over to Sea Island. And James, 4th of July was this last weekend. You did some on-the-ground research.
I was there. I was both on St. Simon's and Sea Island. Got to spend a little time at the Sea Island Beach Club, which was great. Also on St. Simon's, just absolutely beautiful. Love the history down there, and love kind of doing some on-the-ground research.
Did you get any new nuggets?
I already had the nuggets, so I was sharing the nuggets. How about that?
Well, as y'all know, if you listened to our last episode, and if you're not, I encourage you to go back. This is the story of Howard Coffin, who is largely unrecognized for his contributions to the Georgia coast, but he is one of the founders of the Hudson Motor Company. He did more to standardize the automobile than anyone else. You think of Henry Ford. No, it was actually Howard Coffin. And he's one of the founders of what would become United Airlines. Very wealthy industrialist. And he comes to the coast of Georgia to race cars or to test cars.
To attend the auto races.
The auto races outside of Savannah, ends up buying Sapelo Island. And the rest is history, which we'll get into. We got into it last episode, but we'll further that story this episode.
Indeed.
Our signature cocktail today, the Dirty Shirley. And we were laughing about this because anybody who has been to the Cloister or places like that, you know that as a kid, you love a Shirley Temple.
That's right.
It's the best drink in the world.
Indeed.
And then to trick your parents a little bit, you might slip a little bit of vodka in the Shirley Temple when you get a little bit older.
That's right.
And that's called a Dirty Shirley. Well, before we get started with our episode, let me say a quick word about one of our partners, Play. We're very grateful for their support. History is full of lessons learned, and one of the big ones is that those who don't take action get run over by those who do. Play is a full-service ad agency that helps brands find their spark or reignite it. Their team of creative, quote, players, end quote, turns bold ideas into action with smart strategy, design, and digital know-how, helping new businesses launch strong and established ones move forward with fresh energy. Ready to grow your business? Get a free marketing consultation today at goplaydesign.com. That's goplaydesign.com. And we appreciate your support.
100%.
All right, James, where do we go next on our island hopping adventure along the Georgia coast?
Well, we left off on our last episode, Howard Coffin's first land purchases on St. Simon, which were Gascoigne Bluff, which is immediately to the left as you come off of the causeway onto the island, and also King's Retreat, which is where the lodge and the Sea Island Golf Course is located. And I just want to take a minute to talk about both of these properties before we go on to the more fascinating story of the Cloister, because both of these properties have some really interesting history behind them. And for most listeners, or those that are familiar with the island, they'll know these properties, and now they'll know a little bit more about the history. So starting with Gascoigne Bluff has a pretty cool connection to old Ironsides, the USS Constitution, which still sails. It's docked in Boston Harbor. You might have seen videos.
I think from the America's 250th.
That's right.
Was sailing around the harbor.
Had a flyover and all that great stuff. Lumber that was harvested, live oaks, trees that were harvested from St. Simon's were used for the skeletal structure of old Ironsides.
Wow.
And these were shipped. These were shipped from Gascoigne Bluff. Also, lumber for the Brooklyn Bridge was harvested in St. Simon's and shipped from Gascoigne Bluff. The song, Pay Me My Money Down, which I think Bruce Springsteen made popular, was originally sung by the Stevedores at Gascoigne Bluff. One more little piece of trivia.
Are you sure that's a popular song?
Well, maybe it's not a popular song, but it is a song. How about that?
We'll leave it at that. That Bruce Springsteen performed.
There you go. There we go. Thank you for the fact checking. So the bluff was named for Captain James Gascoigne, and he was a commander, one of Oglethorpe's naval commanders. He commanded Georgia's first and only Navy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's where they harbored the ships, right there, right off the other side of the causeway there, before there was a causeway. Also noteworthy, A Spanish armada of 51 ships landed about 2,000 troops there at Gascoigne Bluff during the War of Jenkins' Ear.
Yeah.
They then marched right into an ambush, which we know as the Battle of
Bloody Marsh.
Bloody Marsh, which happened on this day,
Wow.
July 7th in 1742. Which is kind of cool.
Little time stamp for
That's
history
right.
for cocktail
That's right.
parties.
That is the Julian calendar, which is how the British registered it. We would say it was July 18th, based on the Gregorian calendar. It might be getting a little more detailed than we want to.
It's all those
but
threads,
you
man.
may recall that that's what sent Spain scurrying back to Florida, never to return. Which is kind of cool. So all that happened right there. Now the other property, King's Retreat, just down the road. This was in the 1800s owned by a Massachusetts lawyer named Thomas Butler King and his wife, Anna Matilda, who she inherited from their father. And King had a pretty interesting life, pretty interesting story. He was appointed by Governor Brown of Georgia as a diplomat or emissary to Europe after Georgia seceded from the Union to recognize Georgia and establish trade ties. And I mean, did you know that Georgia considered itself a sovereign state for about a month before it joined the Confederacy? It planned all along to do so, but for a month or so,
it was its own,
kind of like Texas, out there as just its own sovereign state. Never knew that.
Did not know that.
I didn't know that either. And Anna Matilda had a pretty interesting story as well. She became an accomplished botanist and was visited by none other than John James Audubon.
Wow.
Yeah. In
Audubon Society. And
that's
the great,
exactly right.
Illustrations of all the birds.
The birds of America.
Yep.
While he was working on that, he visited their place, King's Retreat, there at on St. Simon's.
I bet there were some beautiful birds.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he studied. He was a naturalist, but he also, when he painted, he apparently painted. We've seen this. The birds were on these plants that he also
the
paid
marshes
attention
and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, rather than just
the trees,
rather than just a blank background. So kind of interesting that that she was
James Audubon.
Indeed, she and Matilda was kind of famous too.
Love these connections to the Georgia coast.
I love it. So the first thing, back to Coffin. First thing he does is he builds the Plantation 9 golf course at King's Retreat. Okay,
really?
Yeah, and golf enthusiasts will appreciate this. He hires Walter Travis, one of the most preeminent golf course architects of the day, to design this course. This guy was known as the grand old man of American golf, apparently. Only built 9 holes. I'm assuming there wasn't enough room there originally for 18. But if you're Howard Coffin, in the 1920s, and you're a wealthy industrialist and there are no environmental laws, that's not a problem for you. You make the space. So Coffin buys a dredge. And
you're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
Got his own dredge.
He buys his own dredge from a bankruptcy sale, and he dredges the dirt and sand from the Sound for the second 9 holes, which is known as...
To be a wealthy industrialist
Indeed.
in the beginning of the 19th century.
Exactly.
Not beginning of the 20th century.
Exactly.
Apologies. the
And so the second 9 holes was known as Seaside. Apparently pulled 1 million cubic yards of dirt and sand out of the... Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely
That's
crazy.
Insane.
So the second 9 holes, it was designed by Colt and Allison, which redesigned at one point St. Andrews.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I had no idea. And he kept a bunch of things, some ruins that are still part. There was a barn that was a nucleus of the clubhouse. There were some chimneys, things like that, that you can still see that, the Avenue of Oaks. Those were for the original plantation that was there. After that, he buys Cabin Bluff, the hunting lodge, or builds a hunting lodge there. This is not on St. Simon's, but in Camden County. No longer owned by Sea Island Company, but it was another Coffin purchase at the time. Back to St. Simon's, he starts building roads and paving dirt roads. It's Coffin that builds that direct road from the causeway to the pier. This is King's Way, which a lot of people, I drove it this past weekend. I was down there for the 4th of July.
And you're going to get into this, but the amount that he did for the infrastructure of that island is astonishing.
Absolutely.
And it's all still relevant in 2026.
100%. It's kind of interesting. He planned, his original kind of master plan or grand plan was for a large resort hotel on St. Simon's at King's Retreat. That was going to be the cloister. so to speak. Okay, his big shot. That's
right.
what he was going to do.
Big, Central Hotel.
That's right.
Was going to be
on St. Simon's.
On St. Simon's,
right? And he had his land planners, start planning out. And they actually suggested zoning laws, some commercial setbacks, green belts, restrictions on billboards, things like that. Coffin thought it was such a great idea, not just for St. Simon's, but for all of Glenn County. So out of his own pocket, he paid $22,000 to have the whole county surveyed and have lawyers draft proposed zoning laws. The county adopted them.
Unbelievable.
Third county in the country to have zoning laws.
It's awesome.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
It's insane.
So he's moving along with these plans, and at the same time he's doing this. He dredged up. He loves his dredge.
He does. He has a dredge. You're not going to use it.
Exactly. He's a dredger. So he builds up the triangle. When you're those that are familiar with.
I know it.
Okay,
exactly.
When you're coming
awesome.
off or getting onto the causeway from Brunswick. He built that triangle, dredged up the land for that, and paid half the cost for that little building that you see there, which was a welcome center, luckily being preserved by the Georgia Trust. It was on the Georgia Trust Ramble. Got to tour it not too long ago. Very cool historic building.
Fantastic.
Take a look at it the next time you're driving by. So let's leave Coffin and St. Simon's for just a minute and his ambitious plans for St. Simon's and talk about Sea Island, just across the way. For those that are not familiar with St. Simon's and Sea Islands, you have to cross St. Simon's in order to get to Sea Island, unless you go by boat, which I don't. Yeah,
you might.
So originally called Fifth Creek Island.
Oh, I thought it was Long Island.
Well, before that.
This was Fifth Creek Island.
This is what the Creeks called it, apparently. Yeah. And interestingly, the Spanish who, built, obviously had the mission on St. Simon's and other islands, Sapelo. They didn't build anything there. They or grow any, dates, or they didn't cultivate it at all. They left it alone. So it was never cultivated.
Fifth Creek Island was just a natural state.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing
it was
there.
Just hunting and
it's like one of the only ones that there was no activity.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder why that was.
That's a great question. Great question. A little history on it. A guy named James McKay was a colonial settler, one of Oglethorpe's troop commanders. He acquired the land or got the land from a land grant from King George III in 1768. Didn't use it. Passed it on to his son. 1814, his heirs sold it to John Cooper of St. Simon's. He gave it to a friend.
To a friend.
A guy named James Hamilton. Hamilton then gave it back to the guy's sons. It obviously just wasn't worth very much to anybody at that time, which is just so incredible to think about. One sold it to the other son for $500, remained in the Cooper family till about 1888. This is, again, with Sea Island we're talking about. 1888, it sold for $10,000 to Frank O'Shaughnessy. It's hard for me not to say O'Shag Hennessy after the skit.
Well done.
Sold it to a representative of a group of wealthy New Yorkers who like to hunt. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah. It is. The Jekyll Island.
Unlike Jekyll Island Club, it did not succeed. Even though we hired a caretaker, they had game brought in. This hunting club failed after 3 years.
Is there a structure out there? Do you know?
I think, that's a good question. I don't think there was. Doesn't sound like there was. Just maybe this one house for the overseer. So 30 years. Long Island, Sea Island, continues to be just hunting and grazing land for goats, hogs, and cattle. It was said to be a destination for marooning parties, which was teenagers who would take a boat, or young couples who would take a boat from Brunswick and go over there for a romantic evening.
Wow.
Yep. So
risque.
Indeed. So around 1924, group of citizens, mostly from Brunswick, maybe these, same people that were the Young Men's Association, they organized the St. Simon, no S, Long Island Company, and bought the entire island, 750 acres and 150 acres of marshland for $24,277. And
so $5,000 to $10,000 to $24,000.
That's exactly right.
And before that, it was just given away.
Given away for free. And it's kind of funny that they did. It was they called it St. Simon. There was also a St. Simon with a D. I've got a letter from my grandfather to my grandmother before they got married, proposing that they go down and visit St. Simon Island.
Is it possible that your grandfather just misspelled it?
No, they actually call that. I mean, that is possible, but they actually there have been some
There are
references.
other
Yeah,
notes
references.
of St. Simon.
Exactly. Exactly.
I also point out that all of those islands, barrier islands along the Georgia coast, were called the Sea Islands.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
Well, okay, makes sense. You
Yep.
know, it makes sense that they held on to the name Long Island
Yeah.
for as long as they did, just to avoid confusion. Interesting.
Sure.
Wonder where that changed. So, same guy that designed the causeway, F.J. Torres, laid out plans for a cottage colony that kind of resembles what was down there today for the St. Simon Long Island Company. Lots were sold. If you were a stockholder, you could buy a lot, $100 for an interior lot, $250 for a corner lot on the beach.
My God.
Indeed, 1924.
I got $250.
Yeah, wouldn't get you that. That would not. That almost might not get you a hamburger and a Coke today.
Can't even get you can't even have lunch on the island for $250.
Exactly. So the price did start to increase up to like $500 for a beachfront lot, $400 for interior lot. They put up a bathhouse and a pavilion about where the beach club, the Sea Island Beach Club, is now. For those that are familiar with that. The bathhouse was only moderately successful though, but
it was public, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
You didn't have to own land on the.
That's right.
You could just go out there and utilize it.
That's exactly right. And most people change clothes in their cars rather than pay the dollar to change in the bathhouse. You know,
I can remember my mom holding up a towel for me.
Yeah, not paying that dollar.
Nope.
They hosted auto races on the beach. They had beauty contests and dances. Free for the ladies, $1 for the men.
This is on Long Island?
This is on Long Island.
Wow.
Soon to be called Sea Island. And even though quite a few lots were sold by the St. Simon Long Island Company, it went broke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so two Georgians, a guy named Barfield and Killian, who made a bunch of money in Florida real estate, they bought the stock of the company for $300,000. They had a dispute, couldn't get along. They then sold back to Howard Coffin. Sold the stock to Howard Coffin for about $350,000.
Wow.
Of course, didn't include the lots that were already sold. Did include an island called Rainbow Island and marshland on Black Banks River, which was across from Sea Island. Total acreage of about 2,500 acres. It was Coffin's biggest investment to date, which was $350,000.
That says something.
Yeah, indeed. And I do have kind of a historical mystery. I couldn't figure this one out. Maybe a listener can help us with this. But they started this Long Island company in 1924.
Okay.
Howard Coffin didn't buy the stock of the island until 1926. And it said that he built the little short causeway. It was Howard Coffin using his dredge again.
He loves that dredge
to build that little road out from St. Simon's to Sea Island in 1926. But that would be after this company and lots were sold in the pavilion. So if anybody has an answer to that timeline,
so what you're saying is you would not really be able to get out to that island unless you had a boat,
right? Before
1926.
It would seem to me,
right?
But so I haven't been able to figure that out. So I'll put that out there to the etherverse.
Rowboats,
and see. But they had auto race. I mean, it was obviously you
could
get out there, but I don't know exactly how. So as you can imagine, the Coffins on Sapelo would host prominent friends for hunting weekends. One distinguished visitor, Carl Fisher, who was a developer in Miami Beach. He also made millions of dollars in the automobile business with an early car lamp known as the Presto light.
What?
Yeah. Fisher Island is named for Carl Fisher before he traded part of the island, apparently, or maybe the whole thing, to the Vanderbilts for a yacht.
Man, the Presto light?
Indeed. And when he traded Fisher Island to the Vanderbilts for that yacht, I sure hope he bought some insurance for that yacht.
If he needed insurance, he would have talked to one of our partners, Sterling Seacrest Pritchard, one of the Southeast's largest privately held insurance brokers, and quite possibly the only agency brave enough to tackle everything from construction mishaps to healthcare misadventures, logistics disasters, real estate whoopsies, and even ransom notes from hackers who apparently have never heard of two-factor authentication. When it comes to your home, your business, and all the weirdness life can throw your way, SSP has you covered, usually before you realize you even need it. For a friendly guide through wait, that can actually happen, to do I need a lawyer? Call 678-424-6503 or visit sspins.com. That's sspins.com. Greatly appreciate your support.
100%.
And now that we have
insurance,
our yacht
covered,
our yacht is insured.
Fisher was in good standing at that point if he had it insured. Goes up to visit Coffin at Sapelo Island, and Fisher convinces Coffin to abandon his plans for a big hotel, big resort on St. Simons.
Interesting.
Overlooking the Intercoastal. He tells him that modern resort hotels now are moving to the beaches.
Sure.
And talks about the Flagler Hotel,
and a juxtaposition with the Jekyll Island Club, which is on the marsh.
Absolutely.
And you have to go across the island to get to the beach.
Absolutely, 100%. And so Coffin took his advice. He hires Schultz and Weaver, who were architects who had just completed plans for the new Waldorf Astoria. I did not realize this until I was researching this episode. Old Waldorf Astoria, the one we talked about with the Panama Canal episode, was torn down.
Oh.
That's where the Empire State Building is now.
No.
I'm not,
Great thread. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You would think the Waldorf Astoria you walk into is the Waldorf Astoria.
It's not.
It's
so the cradle of the Panamanian Revolution
happened where
is underground, under the Empire State Building.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Great footnote.
Indeed. So that hotel was built in 1931, by the way. Anyway, so Schultz and Weaver.
Did you just have that on the top of your head?
Yes, I did.
That's remarkable.
Well, some stuff sticks, some stuff
He wasn't looking at his notes at all, folks. It was just a remarkable.
Indeed. Schultz and Weaver also designed the new Breakers Hotel.
Wow. Yeah.
The old one had burned down.
Great hotel.
They were pretty famous architects. So they designed for $25,000 architect fee this grand hotel. It's going to be 8 stories high with a skyscraper basically at those times.
I know. Wait,
for Sea Island. And it's going to be, catch this, it's going to be located, according to what I've read, between 29th and 30th Streets. That's a long way down Sea Island. If you know Sea Island, that's long. That's almost to like Ocean Forest. It's crazy, I mean, beyond the middle of the island. And there were going to be cottages around it. And in fact, mule teams, they're already starting to, Coffin starts work on that, starts the grading.
Wouldn't that have been kind of in the center?
Way the center.
Yeah.
But a little bit, I looked at it on a map today.
Right. So it would have been further than center.
Just a little bit. That's exactly right.
I would have think it would be a good idea to build it right in the middle.
Yeah. Longer, you got to build a road all the way down there.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, we did not mention this, but we talked about it before. There's an Azilla Drive at Sea Island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. One of the names of one of the first attempts at a colony.
That's right.
Of the Georgia colony.
I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the entirety of it.
The Margravate of Azilla or something that. Anyway, different thread. So Coffin is making plans. He's putting the money in to have this property graded. Mule teams are out there doing it. And he starts having second thoughts.
Really?
About this big grand hotel. So he sends Bill Jones and his construction manager, also his PR guy.
And for just to remind folks, Bill Jones is his first cousin, but because he's 20 years older, he's referred to as Uncle Howard.
That's exactly right. Right. And so they're cousins, and
Bill Jones kind of manages all of Howard Coffin's assets.
Becomes his right-hand man, and then now, after Coffin dies, basically takes over the Sea Island Company and has 3 generations of Jones family members.
I would argue the Jones family is the one that most of us are familiar with in terms of Sea Island.
100%. And so he sends Jones down along with a couple of others, to kind of look at what other people are doing in Florida, these beach resort hotels. They do so. They go on this fact-finding mission. They come back and they said, we recommend kind of a go slow approach. Don't build the big hotel at first.
Wow.
Build a smaller hotel. Let people come, kind of check out the island, preview it, and then if things start to sell,
that's successful.
Then go for it. Yeah. Right. So he takes their advice. He had been back to back to the dredging. He had been dredging the banks. If you got a dredger, you're not.
I mean, you're not going to use it.
Right, exactly. like a kid with a new toy.
Seriously, he's like, well, what can we use?
What else? Yeah,
come on.
exactly. And so, anyway, he's been busy dredging the banks of the Black Banks River. Behind the island. He's filled in several acres of marsh at the end of the island. I mean, you just think about the environmental consequences.
I know. Would never get done today.
Exactly.
He's just out there with this big ass machine.
Exactly.
Digging up.
Right. And like what weather patterns, like the butterfly, did he change, in South Carolina or wherever?
All kinds of
China. By doing all this dredging, how many fish did he kill, et cetera, et cetera? How many species went extinct?
Because
anyway,
he's just constantly digging out their environment.
Happily dredging. So anyway, he's built up the backside of this island,
right?
And that is where he chooses to put the cloister. That's the site where the cloister is now. So it's sitting on
a dredged
on
site.
Stolen land.
No, it wasn't stolen land. He pulled it up from the ocean.
It was stolen from the ocean.
That is great.
All right. So this is where the famous architect Addison Meisner comes in.
Right.
A lot of people know Meisner. There's a Meisner room at the cloister. Addison Meisner never formally studied architecture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know a couple of those.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. In the early 1920s, gained fame, in the words of the Saturday Evening Post, by transforming Palm Beach from the rich man's Coney Island into a perpetual World's Fair of architecture.
Wow.
Close quote.
Well, what a quote.
Apparently built or designed something like 67 structures down there in Palm Beach. I mean,
awesome.
Famous guy in Palm Beach. Then after that, he and his brother convince a bunch of millionaires and some screen celebrities to back them in this huge development that Meisner envisioned it as, quote, the world's premium resort, a happy combination of Venice and heaven.
Outstanding.
And that is the Boca Raton Club in Boca Raton.
And mission accomplished.
Yeah, right?
I mean, really pretty beautiful.
Indeed.
So I'm assuming Bill Jones finds
He
Meisner
does.
when he goes south.
He does. But let me tell you about
getting back to Bill Jones.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We are.
We're still going on here.
In this rabbit hole.
Okay.
That club, Boca Raton, opens as the Boca Raton Cloister Inn. Okay, in 1926. That was the original name.
There's
of
a
the
teaser
property.
somewhere.
Yes,
in
there is. The Cloister name was dropped a couple of years later. I'll tell you why in a second. Then readopted. That name was readopted in 2021, 2022. But for almost 100 years.
Recently.
Yeah, almost 100 years.
No cloister.
No cloister. So Coffin sends Bill Jones down to ask Meisner if he might possibly consider designing a little hotel for him in Sea Island. And this was a pretty big ask, I mean, Meisner's he's just opened this brand new, it's like the George Clooney of architecture, and this hotel, his new hotel, the Boca Raton Cloister Inn, opened in January 1926 to a ton of fanfare, grand reviews, all this stuff, celebrities. I mean, it's the inn place to be that winter. I'm sure that Bill Jones thought, man, I'm gonna have to go down, kiss the ring, bend the knee, beg and plead. Well, he gets down there. Believe it or not, Meisner starts wining and dining him.
Wow.
Yeah. Complete turnaround.
Did Meisner know about Howard Coffin and the amount of money that was?
Turns out Meisner Development Corp was bankrupt.
There it is.
Yep. Boca Raton.
He did.
Boca Raton Cloister Inn had cost $1.25 million to build. A lot of money back then.
That is a huge amount of money.
Exactly. And was about to close.
Wow.
Yeah. Even with all of even as
fanfare
popular
and all the publicity.
Exactly.
Wow.
Got to look at the math,
Yeah. Math don't lie.
Math don't lie. It did later reopen. It went bankrupt, and it did later reopen as the Boca Raton Hotel and Club, but the cloister name was dropped. Again, readopted in 2021, but was dropped for a long time. Meisner accepts the invitation to design this new hotel. He's going to design it in the same image or style as his Boca Raton
Get
hotel.
This image of The Simpsons when the guy quickly runs out of town with a bag full of money. Yeah. Just Gotta get to know you. I'm happy to come work for you.
Absolutely.
Well, the thing falls apart behind it.
100%. And just for sentimentality, he convinces Coffin to name the hotel the Cloister.
Oh, really?
So that's how the
Meisner
Cloister
comes up with a Cloister.
Yeah, so that's how the hotel
Interesting.
its name.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought so. Thought it was kind of cool. Now, the end of the Howard Coffin story, I'm being serious, unfortunately does not have a happy ending. He, because of financial problems and I think a bad second marriage, he dies in 1937 by a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Ooh.
Yeah, really sad.
How old do you know?
That's a great question. Let's see. We said he was born in the early 1890s, 1888, maybe.
So young.
Yeah, so
relatively young.
not super old. Yeah, for sure.
That's tragic.
Coffin's buried next to his first wife, Matilda, in the old cemetery at Christ Church on St. Simon's Island. You can go visit the grave. Interestingly, the gravestones they're laid flat rather than standing up, and they are diagonal to the rest of the graves in the cemetery. And kind of an interesting quirk, Coffin, during life, whenever possible, always tried to sleep with his head pointed to the north. He believed that if he did not, the rotation of the earth would have a negative effect on the circulation of his blood. And so he always tried to sleep and orient his head to the north whenever possible. And
goes back to those super intelligent eccentrics.
Indeed. And he wanted to be laid to rest for his eternal rest in the same orientation. So
because that was going to continue to affect you in the grave.
Exactly right. So both he and his first wife were buried
aligned,
pointing north. And there's so much more to tell about Sea Island and these other islands, but I'm going to wrap it up. Kind of running out of time here with Sea Island's equivalent to the Amelia Earhart story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's awesome. So
you already talked about Charles Lindbergh stopping by.
I did. 3 months after Charles Lindbergh crossed the Atlantic, pilot named Paul Redfern, he's 25 years old, pilot from Columbia, South Carolina, set out to accomplish an even longer feat. The first nonstop solo flight from North America to South America. Okay. This was going to be about 4,600 miles, 1,000 miles longer than New York to Paris. I fact-checked that. Actually, I thought, no, wait a minute.
I'm really having a hard time with this math.
Right?
So you're going to go from North America to South America.
From
further.
Start at Sea Island, Georgia.
Yes.
Take off from there. That's their Sea Island relation. And fly to Rio de Janeiro. That is apparently 4,600 miles. To fly from New York to Paris, 3,635 miles.
I wish y'all could see that my mouth is agape.
I'm still
stunned.
I'm
that's a further distance.
Right.
Not a million years.
Right. And
great note.
Yeah.
So he's going to attempt this from
That's exactly right. He didn't come up with the idea. The city of Brunswick does. They've seen what happened with Lindbergh, so they want international fame. Name of the plane actually is the Port of Brunswick. Not St. Louis.
The Port of
Brunswick is painted prominently on both sides, so newspaper pictures, it'll be advertisement.
I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop because I've never heard of this person.
Thousands of spectators show up on Sea Island August 25th, 1927 to watch him depart. This modified green and yellow Stinson airplane. Again, the Port of Brunswick. A lot of hope. And for 27 hours, appears that everything's going just fine. He's spotted off the Georgia coast. He's spotted in the Bahamas. Apparently, a Norwegian freighter also, he dropped notes apparently.
Oh, really?
Somehow the freighter picked up. Now, this part, maybe this is where it started to go south.
Gets a little wonky.
Yeah, apparently the notes were asking for the direction of the South American mainland. Not good, but...
I can just imagine looking down at the boat waiting for a response.
Yeah. Which way?
Point.
Yeah, which way? So apparently, though, he makes it over Venezuela, and one observer sees a thin trail of smoke behind the airplane. He disappears forever. And over the next decade, there are apparently 13 expeditions that searched the jungles of Venezuela, Guyana, and Brazil.
Wow.
Nobody to this day
ever
found. Yeah. Numerous rumors that he had survived among the indigenous people, but nothing verified. No confirmed wreckage ever found.
And to this date.
Right.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
Never found the wreckage.
Kind of like Amelia Earhart.
There's no, but Amelia Earhart went into the ocean. This person lightly crashed on land.
Well, yeah.
There's a plane somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Just shows you how thick those jungles are.
That's exactly right. Indeed.
Awesome. I love it.
Indeed.
What a great journey.
Indeed.
through the history of Sea Island.
Right on.
And all of those pieces, and Howard Coffin.
Yeah. I'm going to try and talk to you, not next time, but maybe a year from now or sometime. Another episode on.
As y'all can tell,
I love it.
James Otley has two passions in life. One is the JFK investigation, and the second is the coast of Georgia.
Indeed.
But I love it. I really, as I said, it's one of the most beautiful places on the planet, and it's just so untouched. It's so natural. And when you go out there, you really do feel like you're in another century. And especially if you have the chance, and we already talked about the Jekyll Island Club, but you really do feel like you step back in time when you go out there.
Absolutely awesome. Awesome indeed.
So we appreciate y'all listening.
Yeah.
If you'll leave us a comment and let us know how we're doing, we would greatly appreciate it.
And also, if you like what we're doing here, tell a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening. This is History for Cocktail Parties with hack historians Thornton Kennedy and James Otley.